Have you ever wondered how to overcome vices and achieve true happiness? In this video, we will explore powerful Stoic advice that will guide you in the fight against vices, revealing the essence of a life based on virtue. Get ready for a transformative journey where we will unravel the difference between ephemeral pleasure and lasting satisfaction. Are you ready to free yourself from the chains of vices and embrace a more virtuous life? Join me until the end and discover the path to true serenity. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content that will inspire you to live with purpose. Let's get started. Number 1. Overcoming ignorance. In this first Stoic advice, it is revealed to us that ignorance stands as the greatest vice, forming a state where the clarity of understanding is obscured and wrong judgments are made. This call to improvement invites us to undertake a constant effort in the search for knowledge and wisdom. In the Stoic realm, ignorance is not only the absence of information, but a harmful state that can lead to the erroneous acceptance of what is bad as good, or vice versa. This advice encourages us to confront ignorance with an insatiable thirst for learning and reflection, recognizing that the path to virtue begins with the illumination of the mind. Overcoming ignorance, in the context of fighting vices, involves cultivating a deep understanding of our own weaknesses and recognizing the dangers inherent in impulsive decisions. Seeking wisdom is, therefore, a fundamental step to shed the chains of ignorance and guide us towards a more virtuous life. Number 2. Self-control and error. The second piece of advice addresses the lack of self-control as the error resulting from ignorance. At this point, the importance of conscious control over passions and impulses is highlighted to avoid falling prisoners of vices that undermine our reason. Self-control, according to the Stoics, stands as a fundamental pillar in the search for virtue and the consequent overcoming of vices. Here, reason stands as a beacon that illuminates the path to considered decisions, while the absence of self-control leads to imbalance and the loss of the ability to direct our actions towards virtue. This advice urges us to recognize the close relationship between lack of self-control and indulgence in vices. By internalizing this principle, we understand that the fight against vices not only involves resisting momentary temptations, but also cultivating an internal authenticity that allows conscious control over our actions and emotions. Number 3. Recognizing evil. This third Stoic advice delves into the origin of vice by highlighting that it arises when what is inherently bad is recognized as good, or when one becomes convinced that what is bad is, in some way, beneficial. Here, the warning falls on the distortion of understanding, revealing how this distortion transforms us into slaves of our passions. The key to understanding this advice lies in recognizing that vice not only manifests itself in concrete actions, but in the misperception of what is truly valuable. The distortion of understanding leads us to put momentary pleasures in the foreground instead of aspiring to true happiness, thus diverting us from the path of reason and virtue. The essence of this advice lies in the call to free ourselves from self-imposed chains, those that emerge when our perceptions are skewed by excessive desire and lack of discernment. Overcoming this vice involves a constant effort to clarify our perceptions and align them with the principles of virtue, thus allowing us to live in accordance with reason. Number 4. Fighting the passions. The fourth piece of advice takes us beyond the recognition that falling into vice is not an irreparable mistake. Here, the essence of daily struggle is highlighted as a crucial component in the practice of virtue and conscious decision-making. In the Stoic context, vice is not simply an occasional stumble, but a constant reminder of the need to persevere on the path of virtue. This advice urges us to understand that each day is an opportunity to choose virtue over vices, to cultivate awareness about our choices, and to be fully responsible for our actions. The fight against passions involves a constant commitment to self-analysis and self-evaluation. In this process, we become architects of our own transformation, building a virtuous character through conscious choices. Thus, overcoming vices becomes a daily journey towards self-regulation, authenticity, and the realization of true Stoic virtue. Number 5. Medicine for vice. In this fifth Stoic advice, virtue is presented as the definitive medicine to combat vices, according to Seneca's perspective. Here, it is revealed to us that true happiness lies in constantly striving to exert control over our vices, allowing virtue to be the antidote that counteracts harmful tendencies. This advice takes us beyond simply resisting momentary temptation. It involves a profound transformation of character and a fundamental reorientation toward virtue. Virtue, seen as medicine, not only alleviates the symptoms of vices but attacks the root of the problem, urging us to rethink our priorities and embrace a more virtuous way of life. The metaphor of medicine highlights the idea that the constant pursuit of virtue is not only a personal task, but also a positive contribution to general well-being. Thus, overcoming vices not only benefits the individual, but also has a positive impact on the community as a whole. If you're enjoying what you've seen so far, I encourage you to show your support by clicking the I like it, which you will find just below. Your support is essential so we can continue bringing you quality content. Number 6. Knowing yourself. Before embarking on the fight against vices, the 6th tip highlights the essentiality of knowing our personal weaknesses and vices in depth. Here, the invitation is to carry out a deep introspection that allows us to reflect on our actions and recognize the aspects of our lives that we need to address and combat. In the Stoic context, self-knowledge is presented as the fundamental basis for personal growth and overcoming vices. This advice urges us to look honestly within ourselves, identify our less virtuous inclinations, and understand the motivations behind our actions. Knowing ourselves not only involves recognizing our weaknesses, but also understanding our strengths and latent virtues. This self-assessment process provides us with the knowledge necessary to draw up an effective plan in the fight against vices, opening the door to significant personal transformation and building a life based on Stoic virtue. Number 7. Long and difficult road. In this 7th Stoic advice, overcoming vices is presented as a long and arduous journey. This call to reality underscores the need to persevere along this path, recognizing that it will not be without challenges and, most importantly, accepting the possibility of relapses along the way. The central concept of this advice lies in understanding that virtue is not achieved overnight. The path to overcoming vices is a gradual process that requires constant effort and patience. The difficulty inherent in this path should not demotivate us, but rather become a constant reminder of the importance of persevering and not giving up the pursuit of a more virtuous life. This advice, by focusing on the length and difficulty of the path, highlights the idea that true personal transformation takes time and continued commitment. Patience and resilience become crucial allies in the fight against vices, reminding us that each small step towards virtue contributes to overall progress. Number 8. Personal motivation. In the 8th tip, we are reminded that each individual has unique personal motivations to overcome their own vices. This personalized approach highlights the diversity of reasons that may prompt a person to pursue virtue, whether the pursuit of happiness, the improvement of human relationships, or any other purpose that is meaningful to the individual. The essence of this advice is the idea that constantly remembering our personal motivations reinforces our commitment to overcoming vices. By keeping the underlying purpose in mind, difficulties along the way become more manageable, and motivation becomes a powerful engine that drives you forward. This advice invites us to reflect deeply on our personal goals and desires, recognizing that true motivation comes from an intimate understanding of what we value and want to achieve in life. By connecting with these intrinsic motivations, we strengthen our commitment to virtue and create lasting momentum toward personal transformation. Number 9. Realistic goals. In this 9th Stoic advice, the importance of setting realistic but challenging goals in the fight against vices is emphasized. The key lies in recognizing that overcoming vices is not a process that happens overnight, but rather involves constant and gradual effort. The essence of this advice lies in understanding that achievable but challenging goals act as guides on the path to virtue. By setting goals that are within our capabilities, but at the same time challenge us, we create a framework that propels us to overcome our own limitations and move towards a more virtuous life. Setting realistic goals is also a manifestation of Stoic wisdom, as it invites us to be aware of our current capabilities and limitations. This pragmatic approach not only protects us from demotivation caused by unattainable goals, but also strengthens our resilience in the continuous fight against vices. Number 10. Difference between pleasure and satisfaction. The 10th and final piece of advice highlights the profound difference between the momentary pleasure of vices and the sustained satisfaction that comes from overcoming them through virtue. This concept highlights the authentic joy and serenity that accompany overcoming vices, contrasting with the ephemeral pleasure they offer. In the Stoic context, this advice underscores the idea that true happiness is not found in the pursuit of momentary pleasures, but in the pursuit of a virtuous life and the lasting satisfaction that comes from such a choice. By clearly distinguishing between fleeting pleasure and authentic satisfaction, we arm ourselves with the wisdom necessary to resist the fleeting temptations of vices. Overcoming vices, from this perspective, becomes a path to fulfillment and personal fulfillment. By choosing virtue over immediate pleasure, we cultivate a constant source of inner joy and serenity, moving us away from the traps of vice and toward the promise of a life based on Stoic virtue. Now that we've explored these valuable Stoic tips for overcoming vices together, I'd love to hear your perspective. Which of these tips resonated with you the most, or which do you think could make a difference in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember that true transformation begins with reflection and dialogue. So, feel free to share your experiences or any questions you may have. I am here to listen to you and learn together. If you enjoyed this content and want more inspiration to live a full and virtuous life, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. This way you will be aware of each new video that will help you on your journey towards authenticity and serenity. Until next time, and remember, every step counts on this path to a fuller and more virtuous life.